Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Undercurrents. This is supposed to be a podcast, but for some reason, people say that they will join me and then they just do not join me. This is the second time this week that this has happened with guests, and it's a bit of a waste of time, I must be honest, for all of us. So I'll be happy to be on here for 30 minutes or so because I know some of you do join in on a daily basis for these things. So I don't want to disappoint you very much, but it is a bit frustrating when you set up your whole day to have a podcast and then no one rocks up. I don't know why, but hopefully it doesn't become a theme going forward because it is rather annoying. I've got a lot of things to do. But anyway, thank you for joining me. If you are here, 14040, welcome. John Jarvis, welcome. I believe Awkward Leon is here as well. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm very happy to speak to you. Would you like to join me on the stream itself? I'll be very happy to have some people join me on the stream. If you want to come join me in my studio, so to speak, please do. I'll be happy to chat to you. So the link is in the chat right now, the Riverside link. And yeah, we should speak if you're happy to do so. Dylan, hello. Welcome, welcome. Tion, yes, we are set for tomorrow. I do hope that, yeah, you're on time tomorrow. I have every faith in you, my friend. Every faith. Someone asks, what about a little pre-chat with those who book? Well, yes, of course. That's what I told them. I said, just come on 5 minutes early so we can chat a little bit before we go live. And most people do. But these two guests this week, just zero response to any of them for some reason. I don't know why. I do find it a bit rude between you and I. But anyway, it is what it is. So lucky for all of you, you have you have me to yourself for the next 30 minutes. So I'm very happy to speak to you directly. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know what you want to talk about. Let me know if you want any answers to any burning questions you might have or my perspective on things. I'm all yours for the next 30, 40 minutes or so. So please feel free. Alternatively, please do come join me in the studio. Alternatively, just yeah, stay in the chat if you want to. That's perfectly fine as well. Let me just open my daily. These are great, by the way. I wish they would sponsor me, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too racist. For those who can't see, it's a Monster Zero, whatever. It tastes nice. Caffeine does nothing to me anymore. But anyway, still quite good. So, what is actually going on in South Africa? Because I don't actually know. I don't. I don't watch the news anymore because I do find it rather boring. And so, yeah, I have no idea what's going on. If you want to talk about politics, we can talk about politics. If you want to talk about something else, we can talk about something else entirely. The one thing I want to talk about, though, I've been listening to this podcast. It's called the New Founding Podcast. And it's basically a sort of American sort of post-liberal right-wing podcast. And they had a chap on there called Curtis Yarvin. So Curtis Yarvin is someone that I have read in the past, someone who has had a relatively profound impact on the way I look at things. And his big idea is basically governments need to become monarchical. They need to become sort of kings. They need to have much more power. In fact, they do have a lot of power, but they sort of refuse to use it. And when the host asked Curtis Yarvin about Trump 2.0, he's like, Trump 2.0 is using 30% of what he could as power to get his way. And but by using 30%, he's acting like it's 100%. So by not going hard enough, he pisses off the left without destroying them. And by not going hard enough, the constituency who voted him in are saying, yeah, you're not going hard enough. So if you don't go full bore, you actually strengthen your enemy through anger, and you don't actually do what your constituency wants. So it got me thinking about South Africa. If we had a populace coming to power, right? Like a real populist who actually wants to solve shit, right? Not these people who just want negotiating, who wants to negotiate and meet everyone and have a commission of inquiry into every single little bloody thing that happens. If you have a real populist in South Africa, you have to go so hard and so fast almost immediately. Like the left will not be able to breathe. That's how hard and fast you have to go, right? So, for example, not that Helen Zille is a populist by any means. That's not my argument. But if she becomes mayor of Joburg and she wants to clean up Joburg, the best way to actually do that is to practically evict every single condemned building in Joburg within a week, right? And then what are the NGOs going to do? They can't have like 50 court cases open at any given time. It's impossible. You have to really like just go in there and nail it savagely with force, with authority. And you just have to completely destroy everyone who's against you. And yeah, I think that's a very good point. And to my knowledge, Trump has done so much in the few months he's been president for the second time. But man, it's just not enough. Like he should have buried the Democrats, like completely buried the Democrats by now. But they're still like around, and I don't know why. Just bury them completely. All those judges, all the corrupt judges, all the corrupt politicians, all the people that try to put Trump into jail for bullshit. Like those people should be in jail by now already. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of them. But I don't know. He just doesn't want to do it. Or maybe he will, but it's a bit slow. It's really a bit slow for my liking. All right. Someone says he loves my work. Thank you so much. Zaitucci, I apologize if I misrepresent that. Young white American men are beginning to reckon with the issues of Jewish influence in their government and major industries. Do you think their distress is justified? I actually think blaming people for your problems is weakness. Excuse me. It's not because I'm a Zionist shill. I mean, I know some people are being paid like $7,000 per tweet. I wish I got that. I don't. I don't get that. But I think sort of anti-Semitism is so old hat because the Jews that I know in South Africa are becoming extremely what we would call based, right? And the interesting thing about Israel, it's basically the last democratic ethno-state in the world. I mean, you got Eastern Europe, but you know what I mean, right? There's a particular ethno-nationalism in Israel that I sort of like. So there are a lot of Jews all over the world, and the way they disagree with each other is much more violent than what other people disagree with Jews as a whole. So Jews are strange because they have a very high IQ through genetic mutations over thousands of years because they intermarry. So they have this very high perception for concepts, for ideas, for intellectualism, numeracy, literacy, and the rest of it. So it's no surprise that they thrive in a meritocratic high IQ economy. It's really no surprise at all. But a lot of them are liberals. But they're not liberal because they're Jewish. They're liberal and they happen to be Jewish, if that makes sense. So I don't like this idea of sort of thinking like Jews are causing issues. The idea of Israel influencing the American government is more interesting to me. Like, I don't know too much about it. There was actually a great conversation between Coleman Hughes and Dave Smith on this. So Dave Smith basically says that like Israel sort of controls the foreign policy, especially under the neocons under George Bush, and Israel was responsible for America going in and overthrowing Saddam Hussein in Iraq, right? Excuse me. But Coleman Hughes, who is a sort of pragmatic center-right kind of guy, doesn't come across as ideological. Like he just had this evidence in place where he basically, in my opinion, he embarrassed Dave Smith completely. And I was a Dave Smith guy. I'm not a Dave Smith guy, but I listened to Dave Smith and I found him very interesting. Like I think he won the argument against Douglas Murray on Joe Rogan. But Coleman Hughes made very, very, very interesting points that sort of goes against the grain of this idea that the foreign policy of America is defined by the Zionists' influence or by Israel in particular. I think there is a special relationship between the countries. Obviously, there is. Why that influence is there, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. They are useful because America was against most of the other countries in the Middle East until very recently. So I think there is a special relationship. I just don't think that the Jews or the Zionists or Israel has as much influence on American policy as one would think. And to answer your question more directly, I don't think blaming people or a group of people other than communists, but I don't think blaming anyone for issues is very helpful. It's a victim mentality that's creeping into the right wing, and I don't like it at all. Because the Jews that I know on this side, and I get along with everyone, right? From Jews to Muslims to whatever the case might be, they tend to be quite forthright in their conservatism. So, knowing full well they are Jewish liberals as well. So, I don't know if that answers your question. But for me, I'd rather just be just I'd rather just do things that I can control, and I'll leave the sort of overarching Illuminati sort of elites thing to people who spend too much time on X and the internet. So maybe the Jews have outsized influence on the American government. Maybe that is the case. Um, maybe I don't know. Maybe, but not much I can do about it. I'm not American. I'm not. I don't live there. I don't like their foreign policy most of the time, but I think it's much better under Trump than under anyone else. Um, so yeah, I think you get good Jews and bad Jews, just like any other person. I just don't think Jews are like far more influential than any other group of people. Like Qatar, the country, has given America $400 billion in aid. And when I say America, I mean universities, NGOs, newspapers, all sorts of things. And no one says, oh, the Qataris are very influential. What is America doing with Qatari money? But the Jews give almost no money to America, and somehow they are much more influential. I don't know. I think the idea falls flat a little bit. And I don't want to get too much into the idea of like blaming a group of people. You can blame like an institution, like the Democrats on an institution, right? You can blame whatever that New York potential mayor is. You can blame him as a person, as a part of the institution of the Democrats. I think the Democrats are stupid and wrong and evil, but not because they're Jewish. It's because of who they are. Like they show you every day who they are. Whereas Jews, I mean, the Jews disagree with each other. And after Netanyahu goes away as prime minister, it's going to be so difficult to get a real coalition in Israel because they just disagree on everything. So anyway, where was I? Sorry, I have missed quite a few things. As Steve Bannon put it best, Trump is a moderate. Absolutely. You know who else is a moderate? Vladimir Putin, right? Have you spoken to an average Russian? They love Putin, but they think he's a bit too soft. So be careful what you wish for, guys. Really, be careful what you wish for. So do you have any comments on the Louvre's first female security chief, hired by the Louvre's first female director, and they lost the crown jewels? Yes, there was a big what do you call it? A big heist, a very European heist. They came in looking like workers and they stole like priceless Napoleonic treasures. And the head of security is a lady, and she was a very important step in equalizing, what do you call it? Representation, right, in security industry in the museums, because of course that was crying out to be diversified. And now they stole all the stuff. So kudos to them. Yeah, all the stuff is very stupid, and the fact that the French are doing it is almost even more ridiculous because the French are definitely anti-woke. But yeah, it is what it is. What can I say? Quote by Ramon Cabernac: "Jews are strange." Well, I mean they are, not as a group, but if you look at the history of the Jews, actually, where's my book? Oh wait, hold on. Let me get you something. If you want to know about the Jews, you should actually read this book by Paul Johnson called The History of the Jews. Every good standing Jewish family has this book, even though he's a Gentile, he's a Brit. It's fantastic, and it tells you the whole history of the Jews and why they are the way they are. I mean, they're strange to me because I find other groups that are strange. Like Muslims are strange to me, Kurds are strange to me. A lot of people are strange to me. It's not just the Jews are strange to me. So a good start for South Africa would be to ban all NGOs. So I don't think you need to ban them. I think you should be able to register an NGO and you should be able to justify transparency in funding for NGOs. I think there is a bill on the books at the moment. I think it went through Parliament or it still has to go through Parliament where they are doing just that. And I think that's a good step. I mean, India has done it, right? India's a democracy and they've done it. So why can't we do it? And it's mostly thanks to Greta Thunberg. Remember Greta Thunberg a few years ago where there was farmers protesting because they removed like price controls for agriculture in India. And when they looked at the protest, Greta Thunberg accidentally tweeted out the entire sort of pitch deck about how to agitate farmers in India to protest even more. So, yeah, so they passed a bill. I think it was around then to say, like, you can be an NGO, but we need to know who funds you, what is your actual process, what are your actual goals, and does it justify being an NGO or does it justify being a foreign interference agent? And a lot of them are foreign interference agents. One of 40 says he knows some really nice Jews, but he knows a lot of arsehole Jews. Yes, just like every other fucking group of people in the world, right? To me, there's nothing special about the Jews. Like they're just a group of people that identify as X, and some are nice and some are terrible, just like the average lib, just like the average Muslim, just like whatever. So yeah, I don't really get the fixation on Jews. That's just me. Zionist shill will fill the chat now. That's fine. You can think that. Let's change the name of the show to "If They Show Up." Yeah, ordinary people if they show up. maybe. I must be honest. The two guests who didn't arrive, and people are going to say, "Oh, that's racist." The two guests who didn't arrive happen to be black individuals. So I don't know why. Yeah. Anyway, it's not to make a general point. It was just interesting factoid. What is happening here? Share the link to my diary. Okay, I will do so. How do I rate Trump's presidency so far? I think it is excellent, but I think it is not optimal. I would have been much harder and faster and far more aggressive. Um, I would prefer that. Only to show that it can be done in a liberal democracy. That's it. So I think he's doing well. I think the deportation should be like way higher, but I know the limitations on that. I think Trump violently underestimated how infected the judicial branch is of the United States, and the fact that all of his decisions, which are executive decisions and his to make, have to go to the court. He should just say, fuck you. I'm not letting the judicial branch decide what the executive can do. That is well within his rights, and he should be able to take some action to actually remove activist judges from the bench who interfere in executive power, as they are doing at the moment. But he wants to play the lawfare game, and he tends to win those games. I just find it a bit strange. Like, if I was him, I'd be like, if this goes to court in any meaningful way, I would sort of disbar that particular judge because it's obviously beyond the scope of what he is supposed to do as a district judge. If the president has the power to do X and a judge says, no, actually you can't, it's bullshit. Like that's an illegal judgment. So there needs to be an eradication of that activism in the judiciary. The judiciary is just there to make sure that the president or the executive follows the law. And they are following the law. But the judges think that it's up to them to decide what the law is and whether it's being followed correctly. That's insane. But Trump is happy to play that game. So I think Trump is doing well. I think he stopped potentially 5 wars from actually happening, which is good. But he's also finding out that the Russians, in particular, are not caring too much about what America thinks of Russia, and I think that's a very important development in terms of global American hegemony is not as strong as it once was when Trump was president the first time, and he doesn't know how to react to that in a constructive manner, mostly because it's brand new. But it'll be interesting to see how he solves that issue. 'Cause I know he wants to solve it. He keeps saying he wants to solve it. Someone's talking about foreskins. What? Okay. I'm not going to put that up there, slippery pickle. I don't know what you're on about. All I can say is it's wear and tear. Okay. Will you support S. Magashvili's bid for the presidency so we can hurry up? Is S. Magashvili running to be president of South Africa? I spoke to him on Morning Shout a few years back. And I actually asked him, like, do you think whites are Africans? Like, yeah, absolutely. It's like Afrikaners, yeah, absolutely. They built this country. So you speak to these ANC guys one on one, they like sort of just agree with everything you say, like the liberal talking points. Then when they go back home, not back home, but when they speak to their own people, they're like, yeah, whites need to go to the sea and we must decolonize everything. So yeah, I had a good conversation with Ace Bakashide quite a number of years ago. But it's interesting to me. He is a perfect encapsulation of media power. So remember when he became the Secretary General of the ANC under Cyril, and all the media was like, "Ace is so powerful, and he's going to thwart the great reform or whatever." Remember what the great whatever bullshit, right? And then he was just removed as Secretary General, and like no one heard of him ever again. And he got like 5 votes at the next election under his fake girlfriend voting party. A lot of people have no power whatsoever. Take Vikilin Balula, remove the title, and he is just no one. And this happens to a lot of people in the ANC. So the media power of making these people seem relevant is just not so at all. So Leon says he likes the Russian people, and the USA seems to hate them for no valid reason. Well, I think there is a valid reason. So I like the Russians. I was there last year. Was it last year? Yes, I was there last year. And to me, the Russians are just like Afrikaners who can't speak Afrikaans, but they have the same sort of face, the same sort of features, the same way of. They're quite shy, but they can, they open up after a while. And I went to the rural parts of Russia. I went to the Arctic Circle in a place called Pivek, and it felt, I'm not saying it felt like Orania by any means, but it felt like that Afrikaner culture was broadly familiar to me within the Russian people. So why does America hate Russia? Well, it's very simple. After the fall of the Soviet Union, the Americans wanted to control Russia, right? And they did under Boris Yeltsin. And they created this mafia state, the oligarchical state. Goldman Sachs went in and said privatize everything and do austerity and whatever, inflate or deflate the value of the ruble, and a complete nightmare. Complete nightmare. I mean, life expectancy in Russia fell after the Soviet Union fell. I mean, that's ridiculous. How can you have a communist tyranny have better life quality than a democracy? After it was because of America, right? They wanted to go in, buy things on the cheap, give improper advice, and made a state, the Russian state, much worse. So when Putin came in 2000, he had to clear all of that up, and that's why he's so popular, because people still remember the 90s in Russia, where I mean, people were hoarding themselves off the streets, for a piece of bread because the ruble was worth nothing. I mean, people really misunderstand how much the Russians suffered after the fall of the Soviet Union. So and Putin, I read his biography, which is very good. And during his first 2 terms, I think he's on his fourth now, but during the first 2 terms, he wanted to be part of NATO. He wanted to be part of the EU. He wanted to work within the sort of Western influence, the Western sphere of influence. and he just kept getting tricked and lied to, and NATO increased eastwards, which he complained about numerous times and was told numerous times, no, no, it's not going to go eastwards. And then when he came back in 2012, after he became prime minister, then he became president again in 2012, he was like, okay, well, fuck it, I'm just going to focus on Russia and Russia only, and fuck the rest of them. And Americans hate that. The American wants to be in control of most places around the world, of which they are. And Russia just said to their face, well, not us. We're trying to work with you. You keep screwing us over. And therefore, now we're just doing what we want to do for the benefit of the Russian economy and the people and all that. So that's why America hates Russia. But the Russians don't hate the Americans, funny enough. When I spoke to them there, they were like, the war was like just a sad, inevitable consequence of a variety of things that happened in the past. But I'm hoping the Russians and the West can come to terms with each other and work together, because the Russians are Western people. I know geographically they split between the two, but I mean, Western Russia is Russia. Eastern Russia is just a frozen tundra for the most part. Predictions on how the SACP will get precisely 3,251 votes. No, they will get absolutely nowhere. They're not a threat to anyone. And the best thing we can do to end communism is for the SACP to go on their own. But they are fucking useless. They are such a useless bunch of people that I'm actually gobsmacked that they have so much, or they had so much influence in the ANC. Yeah, no. I think the SACP is dead and has been dead for a long time. They've just been a parasite on the ANC for the past 60 years. Do I have any plans for potential future in politics? It depends. Depends. If anyone asks me, I say, show me the money. And I promise you, I will do it for the money or because I believe in the cause, but I'm tired of doing things for free and helping people and helping all sorts of things and putting my life on hold for other people's projects. So we will see. If a good deal comes along, I might join, but um, I'm not actively looking or seeking to go into politics at all. And I never was in politics. I mean, I was the chief of staff for the minister. I know people say, oh, that is politics. I agree. But I never joined to be a politician. I joined to actually be a chief of staff and to make shit better. That was cut short. According to Cyril, rising food prices are due to profiteering by supermarkets. Of course, John, Cyril is a dying-the-wool socialist bastard. I mean, I don't know why people think he's like smart. He's not. He never was smart. His first State of the Nation address in 2018 was like, "Oh, we'll build a bullet train." Like, how about we just have like a road first that actually worked properly? Cyril's so super stupid. And for the longest time, if you look at the history of Cyril Ramaphosa, he always had white handlers. Always. His education, his university, even as a trade union, he was handpicked by Anglo Gold to prevent wildcat strikes at NUMSA or NUM or um, wherever he was. When he joined the ANC and at CODESA, Rolf Meyer looked after him. When he joined the business, all the white CEOs looked after him. And then now, for the first time ever, he becomes president of the ANC and no whites are handing him. And you can see it because the guy is stupid. He really is stupid. So we shouldn't care what he says. He's just dumb. So Star Chaser used to live in Russia. Interesting. And the Russian people lived under communism for years, and that changed their morality. Scamming foreigners is regarded as clever and cool. I don't mind scamming foreigners. Yeah, of course, of course. You get good and bad Russians, and whatever the case might be. But when I was there, I was super impressed by Moscow. I was quite impressed by the airports. I went to Moscow, Novosibirsk, only the airport though. But it was all clean, all tidy. Okay, I know some people live like in huts and have long drops in the middle of the frozen Siberian tundra. Like I get all that shit, right? But compared to what Russia was 30 years ago, like they've actually made progress, unlike South Africa. Mr. McDonald's never complained about Big Mac prices while he was profiting off of it. So that's true. I actually spoke to people who okay, it's hearsay, but they knew Cyril in the past when he was the business guy, i.e., not a business guy. And a lot of the modus operandi, it appears, from these BE deals was get a hugely discounted price for the shares. You buy the shares, and then you make decisions that basically extract all the cash, profits, assets of that company, and then leave it as a shell afterwards. And I'm actually thinking to myself, maybe in fact that is what Cyril's modus operandi is as a businessman, but also why not as a president? I mean, think of what he has done as president. He's basically asset stripped the country, right, through various schemes. The corruption is just one of it, but just look at the policies themselves, like the NHI policy is basically taking away the assets from the private sector, and maybe he buys them on the cheap. I don't know. But look at any other policy that he does. And it seems like everything's just an extraction racket at the end of the day. And if you think about it, it does make sense in a way. But these are just things that I hear. I don't have any proof for them whatsoever. So, any chance of getting your mate, ex-South African, living in Portugal, on the channel for discussion? He's very, quite a private person. I don't think he will come on, but I can certainly ask him. I can certainly ask him. Right. Let's see who else has something to say. Blows my mind that we have so much evidence against the ANC, but the faith of their followers leads us to Venezuela. So I agree with you, Gavin. The thing is, and I think the trick that we miss in politics, and especially in South African politics, no one actually votes because they read the manifesto. Right? People vote because they want to feel part of the club. And the ANC club was the best and the biggest club ever. So it's like being I don't know, a Manchester United fan. You join when Alex Ferguson was there, and like they're like top of the league, and they're beating everyone and smacking David Beckham in the face with a boot, and life is wonderful. It gives you your sense of identity. And then when Alex Ferguson leaves, and some other moron comes in and destroys the club, it's difficult to say, okay, I'm no longer a member of that club. So I think a large part of ANC support in the past was like, oh, they're the biggest club, so obviously they can actually do stuff. But now they're not the biggest club due to the fact that they didn't do stuff. So I think it's going to be. I just wondering. The most important question in South African politics is where is all that ANC electoral energy going to flow into after the ANC dies, and it's already dying. I just don't know. So far, nowhere. Maybe people just won't vote. So the DA will win the election as the biggest party solely because no one else voted. Maybe. All right, let's see. How long has it been, guys? Has it already been 30 minutes? Jeez. Okay. Just want to make sure about something or other. So someone says tribalism is the biggest issue in this country. Guys, I think tribalism is a big issue if you only read the news and you think it's accurate. Like, I don't read the news much anymore. And as I keep saying, I speak to many South Africans all the time, all over the place. I've been around this country so many times, it's scary. I I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I have a very skewed perception of South Africans, but I haven't felt animosity directly from another person in this country due to my race or due to anything else other than on Twitter and mostly from like white libs. So that doesn't count. But if you stop at a petrol station in the middle of Slaterville in the Karoo, or in Victoria West, or in the middle of Cape Town, or in wherever, Hermanus, I wouldn't go into like townships because it's like sort of it's dangerous. But I think this tribalism stuff is largely overblown, and I know many people would disagree with me on this. I think if you solve the economy and you actually have economic growth, not to the detriment of social issues. Like I'm not saying it's the panacea, but I think if you just have a country that looks like it's a place you can live in and you got a chance, that tribalism doesn't really exist, in my opinion, at least. Give us some music recommendations. I'm a rock guy, so at the gym I listen to Rammstein, and that's the only time I listen to music actually is at the gym. So Rammstein, Tool. Who else do I listen to? Slipknot. Yeah, but that's for gym. During the day, I listen to classical music. If I want to get things done, I just listen to classical music. And I play classical music for my kids, not like Bach or Baroque, but even like modern classical music, because my daughter's learning to play piano. So I like to inculcate that idea that you don't need like K-pop lyrics for something to be cool. You can actually just listen to music that's been around for 500 years, and that's far more valuable. So yeah, so it's between classical music and like hardcore heavy metal. So that's a nice balance. Only thing the ANC needs to say at election time is that the DA are racist. That's losing power every day. I mean, they the average person in South Africa is like smart enough, guys. Like maybe you sort of underestimate the sort of pragmatic elements of the ordinary South African, but people know stuff. Like they can tell if Cyril's a bullshitter because they're not voting for him. They would vote for him in 2017 or 2018. Now they don't vote for him. So I mean, obviously people's minds are changing all the time. It's not, yeah, it's not. I don't know. I think you must. I think you underestimate the sort of intelligence or the pragmatism of ordinary South Africans. If they were not pragmatic, we would be fucking Venezuela. But we're not. I was not expecting Rammstein. Why? Just because I wear a shirt and I look good. Rammstein's fantastic, and you know it's good music because you don't have to understand the lyrics. I understand nothing about Ram. I don't know what Rammstein's talking about. And besides, they're all commies, right? They all come from East Germany under the sort of Soviet communist era, and then today they're called Nazis. And meanwhile, they're like, no, 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 we hate America. If you listen to the song "America" by Rammstein, it is a critique of American hegemony, which I share that critique of as well. And if you listen to the song called Radio or Radio, it's basically a critique of mass propaganda masquerading as media. And then if you listen to the song called Deutschland, which is probably their best song, it's a critique of what Germany has become. So really, I mean, Rammstein is fantastic. And I actually like the themes that they talk about, even though they're hardcore lefties and they love gays and shit like that. It's fun. I can still appreciate the power metal aspect of Rammstein. I don't know why you people are so. You think I'm like some hoity-toity guy? Like, oh no, I only listen to Chopin. No, fuck that. Rammstein, Tool, Slipknot. There's a progressive rock band called Pineapple Thief, which I like a lot. The other progressive band I like is Stephen Wilson's band, and I forgot the bloody name. But if you know prog rock, Porcupine Tree. Thank you. Yes, that's the one I'm talking about. I love Porcupine Tree. Slayer. I don't like thrash metal, so Slayer not my cup of tea. But progressive rock, hardcore, um, sort of metal. Yeah, I love that stuff. I really do. So when I did work, and I need to like to do tasks for like an hour and just focus, I'll just have like hardcore like Slipknot. Often the live performances, because the live performances of Slipknot are excellent, and I will put those in my ear on Spotify and just like pound away at work and get it done within like 30 minutes. It's very nice. I like it. So Starshine is a good point. MK plus DA plus ANC. I think you mean MK plus EFF plus ANC equals 65% of the votes. Yes, of course, guys. Elections are a racial census. Black people will vote for black people and whites will vote for whites. Happens in every country. Nothing strange about that. But they are not voting for the EFF because they love the policies of the EFF. They're not voting for MK because they love the policies of MK. They love They're voting for MK because they love Jacob Zuma. They're voting for EFF because they think Malema is aspirational. They vote for the ANC because their grandmother got a clinic around the corner from them in the townships in 1998. They're not voting for these people for their ideas. They're voting for people because of identity or because of nostalgia or because of the story of the party is very important to them. So all those stories are disappearing. MK's dead, EFF's dead, ANC's dead. Where will all those people go afterwards? I have no idea, but I bet you quite a lot of money that if you have a right wing populist black guy who can come in here and say, fuck everyone, we're going to do X, Y, Z with force and power and authority, all those people who are on the left will vote immediately for him because people are sheep. Libs and progressives and centrists, they're all sheep. It's like the right wingers who are like a bit forward thinking and a bit too early for most things. But a lot of people are sheep. They really are. Did I go through ESCOM bullshit for the solar system? Nope. I just put in my solar system. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't get a permit. I don't care about any of that stuff. So no. I just do what I want at my house. I don't ask for permission for anything. Fuck them. There's nothing much they can do about it. So 144 was a long head headbanger. I had a few friends like you back in my high school. I never really got it. But guys that looked like me were pop listeners, not a. I like. I'm hygienic. I try to dress properly every day. I'm not a slops and whatever shorts kind of guy. I have standards and I have high standards in music. And I think heavy metal is a very intricate, interesting, melodic form of music. Like, if you're honest, if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, Taylor Swift is like very intricate and melodic and interesting," no, it's fucking not. It's like AI, ChatGPT music bullshit, right? Like, I think metal is really artistic, and that doesn't apply for many other um, types of music. So, in my youth, I used to listen to rap. I like Ice Cube. I mean, I still listen to Ice Cube sometimes. Eminem was very big. But I like the artistry of it. If that makes sense. Not because I need to follow the culture of rap. No, but I like the artistry. Like, I think Eminem is a very good rapper. Like, very good. I don't share his political views. So what? Any jazz? No, I only listen to music. Yeah, jazz is shit. Like, I can't stand it. It's not even music. It's just people playing instruments without practice. I don't get it. Why don't we have someone like you described for a conservative black leader? Because as I mentioned before, it's very difficult to get, especially the black community, it's very difficult to get funding for these sort of political parties. And the elites won't fund it. So I assume there are many, many, many good black leaders around who are conservative. And then again, like then their term go, it's not black people in general. Like Herman Mashaba was like the Free Market Foundation chairman and CEO for like 20 years. He becomes a politician and then he's like, now he's super racist against whites. Can you trust someone like that? But no one will fund the black conservative movement in South Africa because it doesn't suit anyone at the moment. In the future, maybe, but now not so much. I will not allow jazz slander on this podcast. But yes, but Tian, we're talking about music. Jazz is not music; it's just noise. So Cradle of Filth, they have a cover of Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden. And I think the cover is just so much better than the original song. So I used to love Cradle of Filth, mostly for their covers. Their covers were great. But I haven't listened to them in a very long time. Actually, I should download it. I'm going to the gym after this. Maybe I should listen to Hallowed Be Thy Name. But the guy just like screams his head off. But it's pretty good. He has a very good voice. But just think about music when we were growing up. So I'm 38, right? So what was big when I was like between 10 and 16? Papa Roach, right? Limp Bizkit, Marilyn Manson, Slipknot was still big now, but they were very big back then as well. Who's that band that everyone loves to hate? Chad Kruger was the head of it. I can't remember the name. But they were big. Like the music for the 90s in terms of originality, artistry, etc. was very good. And then I think in the 2000s, like it just became sort of a formulaic way to make music. So you have all these people like Taylor Swift and whoever else. Like it felt a lot more Nickelback. That's the one I'm looking for. Thank you. But it just feels a lot more formulaic. Like I don't listen to the radio at all. If I get an advert, I listened to the radio by mistake the one day, and the advert came on, and I almost drove into a tree in frustration. But the music is so shit, and it's not because I'm getting old, but I think it's artistically it lacks merit. Like it lacks artistry, and I'm only finding that in the progressive rock stuff that I'm listening, or the metal stuff that I'm listening, or some rap, but very rarely nowadays. Now everyone's like mumbling, you don't know what they're saying. But I always look for artistry, and I'm happy to say like a piano piece or any form of music that is artistic. I would listen to. Yeah, I really would listen to. So even like the early Marilyn Manson stuff was actually pretty good. I don't listen to it now. I think it's a bit old fashioned. Muse, massive, right? I saw them at the Coke Fest here in 2007 or 2008 or 2009. I can't remember when it was. Best concert of my life. I think it's the last time I went to a concert. Muse was brilliant. I listen to them now, and it's like, oh, it's less brilliant. So anyway, I don't have. I don't know why I'm talking. I have nothing really to say. Kurt Darren, not a fan. What about Flyleaf? Devil, never heard of them. Devil's Skin, never heard of them. Disturbed, I used to like them when I was at school. Not so much anymore. And Seether, the great South African band, Seether, right, were really good. I tried to listen to them a couple of months ago, and I was like, not impressive. Or Evanescence. Remember Evanescence, right? Like her voice is fantastic, whatever her name is. But no, it's just a bit twee. And Linkin Park, yes, Linkin Park was great. But also, try to listen to it now, it's aged terribly. Whereas I find the heavy metal stuff doesn't age at all. It's always good. Anyway, now everyone's talking about music. Dream Theater, OG, top 10 band. Love them. Though I only know Pull Me Under as obviously the main song. And their latest release was not too long ago. It was about 3-4 years ago. It was excellent. One criminally underrated band that no one knows about is called Galahad. Galahad. And it's basically a bunch of like old British guys. I think they're like 65. And they have this progressive rock element, and it's just amazing. So I would highly recommend that you do them. Galahad. And they got fantastic songs, and they're really good. But they don't sell albums or anything like that. They do a few tours every now and again, and they're so good. They've been around for 30 years. But yeah, very very good stuff. Right, where are we? Are there any base South African streamers? I don't know any streamers, and I'm streaming now. I know. I'm not based. I'm just very conservative and right wing. Not really. I think a lot of Ronaldo, like Ronaldo's a liberal, obviously. Byron Morning Shot, yeah, he's pretty based, I would say, but he focuses on the news. So I don't know if I don't know many streamers. I don't catch up, so I'm not too sure. All right. Any decent metal bands? So back in the early 2000s in Carnival City, there were these rock concerts. Then you had many bands there. I'm trying to remember who they were. Like Soil 77, that rings a bell for some reason. They had some great songs. Tree 63 or Tree Top 63 or some other weird name. They were very good. There's another one with a mouth, not Smash Mouth. That's an American band, but there was another one who had great music back then. There was a good rock music in South Africa in the early 2000s. Zebra and Giraffe was actually pretty good if you listen to them carefully. They were actually very good. I forgot the names, but the early 2000s was like the golden age of South African rock. It was so good. I just remember Soil 77 because that name sticks like a bell. Tree 63, yeah, that's the one. But there was so many good bands in the early 2000s. And I'm trying to figure out. Zebra and Giraffe was a bit later, but they're actually very good. There was a band that sang a song called The $6 Million Man, and I forgot who they were, but they were also very good. But anyway, I don't know why you're so interested about music, but I'm happy to speak about music. But I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm not at all au fait, so to speak, with it. Gothic rock, I think it was cool in the early 2000s. Now less, it's a bit like Epica. I think is a good old North. The people who sang Northwest Passage, Apocalyptica, I think they're called. I think it's fine. I think it just, yeah, I think it's lost its charm a little bit. And yeah, and this is a problem with metal, right? I was never a guy to have like metal studs or eyeliner or like grow my hair long. I've always been like a sort of a preppy looking motherfucker. Excuse my language. I've always been preppy. I've always wanted to dress properly. So I never joined like the mosh pits or I had a corn jersey once, not a jersey, a corn t-shirt that I used to wear everywhere for like 3 weeks. And then everyone just, yeah, that was embarrassing. But I never joined the culture of, I don't join the culture of music. I just listen to music for the artistry of it. I'm hoping that makes sense. Excuse me. And Afrikaans music, I don't really listen to. So fuck off Police Card and all that. I don't really know them that well. All right. I'm not a wussy. I just refuse to dress badly. I just think that the aesthetics of that metal scene is terrible. I'm not a wussy. Like, I just refuse to. Anyway. Dan Patlansky is fantastic. What a brilliant musician. He is absolutely amazing. He is really amazing. Thanks for the reminder. I actually forgot about him, but he is world class. He's a world class blues player. Highly recommended. All right, everyone. I don't know why you guys are so obsessed with bloody music all the time, but happy to answer things on that. But I do need to go very soon. I promised 30 minutes, and I'm here for over an hour. Aren't you lucky? Um, so yeah, I think let me call it. I wish to thank all 44 of you for joining me on an interview that never took place, that became a live Q&A about why I don't wear like metal pants, not metal, leather pants and metal stub shoes. Yeah, I just never been one of those guys. So, oh, and lastly, South African band, early 2000s. If you don't speak about Boo, you don't know anything about South African music. And I'm happy to say Chris Comedian is someone that I know quite well. We see each other once every few years. And Boo, I think, was just monumental. Well, still are monumental. Oh, and what a great band. So there we go. If I had to pick, I think Boo would be my favorite South African band. So yeah. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I need to be on my way. I need to go do the school run and a variety of other things. But thank you for joining. And tomorrow, I don't actually know if I've got a live stream. I think I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. All right. I'll see you then tomorrow, midday, as always, on Undercurrents. Subscribe if you haven't. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Until next time.